welcome back to another video from Gotten Birding. I'm Rachel Burgess and this is my top 10 essential beginner birding things that I find very useful. So let's dive into it. Okay, so the very first thing that's important, I think it's kind of obvious, is you need a pair of binoculars. So these right here are the Vortex Crossfires. These are not this is not my pair, this is a friend of mine's. But these are still very good. They're a little more on the more budget side of binoculars, so they offer kind of a lot of the same points as the binoculars that I use, but for about $100 to $50 less. So I use the Vortex Diamondbacks, and they are about $250. I personally have the older version, which was on sale, and I like them a little better because this is a little softer. You know, it's all on personal preference, and I think they're a little bit cheaper. I love mine. Mine are a little shiny from all the use that they have gotten over the past couple years. But one thing I love about the Vortex brand in general is their warranty. It is absolutely incredible. Like, someone shot their scope and they still replaced it. Like, it's pretty much no questions asked. If it gets damaged by you, your dog, your cat, a natural disaster, they'll send you a new one. If you're looking to invest in something that is going to be worth it and you're going to have, it's called a lifetime warranty. You will literally have these for your lifetime. It makes it so much worth it to invest the money into something you know you're going to have forever. We were fortunate enough to start out with Vortex, but going back, I would do the exact same thing. I would still spend a little bit more on a Vortex product than I would on another one, because for me, Vortex is the best for the value. So the difference between the Crossfires here and the Diamondbacks that I have, or we have, both Andrew and I have Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks have better weather resistance, it's a little better focus close up, they have a larger field of view, and they're also a little better in low light. If you can afford to do a little more money, I would probably go with the Diamondbacks versus the Crossfires, but if you're just looking for something like super budget, but still a Vortex, the Crossfires are almost as good as the Diamondbacks. That's it on binoculars. Vortex is the way to go. So the second, I think, most important thing, especially when you're a beginner birder and you don't have a lot of experience with sounds or the looks of birds, especially during spring migration. Fall migration is a different story because birds are mostly quiet, which is a little frustrating, but that's a totally different story. Spring migration, you have all these birds singing all the time. So the second, I think, is Merlin. Merlin, we have found it is associated with Ebird, and it is actually really accurate for the most part. I do offer a word of caution when using Merlin as a beginner, because we have seen some pretty outrageous or outlandish reports of birds where just the comment section is ID'd from Merlin. They didn't see the bird or nothing, and we had a brown thrasher who was calling and making all sorts of things, and Merlin was like, ooh, this, I don't remember what it was, but it was something rare, and we were like, yeah, no, that's the thrasher. So definitely, like, when you're at the beginning, kind of spend time and kind of think and look and make sure that that is the bird that is hearing. Like the common ones like cardinal and some things that are in your area, yeah, it's gonna be almost 100% always right on those. But like for the rarity things, it's not as easy. Definitely look into Merlin. It is definitely one of the essential apps to have when birding. Third thing that goes along with that is Ebird. Ebird is a platform to where you can start a checklist, and once you start a checklist, you can go in and there are tons and all the different birds And say you see a blue jay, you add that blue jay. And if you see another blue jay, you add another blue jay. Ebird in my book is essential because you can keep track of your life list, and you can also get alerts from rare birds in your area, and so you can actually go get more life birds. So the fourth thing that I have on like my top 5 essentials for me personally are the ID guidebooks. The main 2 books that I'm going to recommend here today for the beginners or just anyone, I mean, everyone in our birding community here loves these books, and that's kind of how we got them. And we recently just got them too. Like, I would actually recommend getting them when you first start out, because having these probably would have been pretty helpful for us. So learn from our mistakes, get these in the beginning if you can, or even now, just anytime, and they're just amazing. Like, pretty much everything you need to know in the Sibily Guide to Birding is on this page here. So easy to use, and it's just all right there, and the differences are pointed out for you. This is just so in-depth, and you can find virtually everything you need just in this one book. But another book that we like is the Crossley ID guide, and it's got all sorts of pictures of real birds, and they're kind of all photoshopped together, and it's just really, really well done. That is incredible. And then he's got his own little description down here, and then you've got a map as well. This particular book is the Eastern birds. I definitely think that this is a pretty essential thing to have when birding. So the 5th thing that I find essential, and a lot of people don't know about this, and I have a little short on my channel, I'll try to find a link to it, is the BirdingApp. Now, this is kind of a new app, and it's not well known, but I think it's pretty essential because kind of like a social media app where you can talk to nearby birders. It'll send you rare bird alerts through Ebird, and you don't have to wait for it every hour. It'll send it whenever it happens, whenever they repost it, and you can post things kind of like Facebook, but like to birders who really appreciate it. Like, if you're like the only birder, you kind of post stuff and people are like, yeah, those birds are cool, but why do you post so much about birds? You know, it's kind of weird. I have a little video about that, so I won't go too in depth on that in this video. So let's move on to the 6th thing, and this probably should have been higher but I felt like some of the other ones were just a little bit more important, and that is a camera. I have the Panasonic Lumix DC FC80. It is probably the best value for what you get in terms of video and photography. You can go frame by frame and you can kind of pick out different shots you want to act as like pictures. And I found that those are slightly better quality than the actual pictures that this thing takes. All of my videos from this, you can find them on eBay for less than $300. There's a couple other birding cameras out there that Nikon makes that I was thinking of, but this is probably the best value for a birding camera. And then for added protection, I have a little hood that I use on it, and I feel like it's pretty good. Another thing in this camera category is a good tripod. I've had several different types of tripods. With our scope, we have a Vortex High Country 2, and that has been a really good tripod for the scope with wind and things like that. But I basically just have, for the camera and some other things, I actually kind of really like the Amazon Basics, just $30, however expensive it is now, tripod. Decently high, it's really inexpensive, and so far I've had them for a couple of years and they haven't broken. So they're a little bulky, but not a bad tripod if you just want something. Obviously, like I say with any of this, do your own research and find out what's best for you. And then I have my bag that I carry all of this in, and it's a little backpack. It's got this front chest strap that I really like. I have back problems, and this seems to be great so far. I haven't really taken it on any long walks, but it has lots of pockets for batteries and all sorts of things. And then here's the access to get all the pockets. You have a quick side access to get to your cameras real quick, even though I use this all the time, it's just as fast. And I will leave a link to this bag in particular that I really like for my personal preference. Another thing in the camera category is a strap. This one in particular is, I just recently got this and it has been a game changer. This goes over my wintry, big giant wintry jackets, and I feel like it's barely even there. So the one thing about birding is you have, especially if you have a camera and you have binoculars, you know, it can get all jumbled and kind of banged together and maybe cause some damage. But if you have something like this, this is just incredible. Like, you can bring it up, you can let it go down, and I find this to be a game changer in what we've been doing. So the seventh thing that I find pretty essential, especially for winter birding, is a scope. Now these are on the expensive side, but the older version of Vortex Razor, it's under $1,000, so it's still, for the most part, affordable, but you know, scopes are expensive, but we'll just leave it at that. It comes with the Vortex warranty. All Vortex products come with that warranty. And we found that the best one to get is the Vortex Razor. So, but with all of that said, do your own research on scopes, binoculars, anything that you get, because I have my personal preferences, but you may have a totally different one. So the eighth thing that I find pretty essential, going especially in the beginning, is the community. Get to know your local birders because they have some inside knowledge to rare birds, to the best spots, how to get somewhere if it's like hard to get to. When you meet someone and you have a community that you get to know and they're just as crazy as you are, they've been birding this area for a long time, more than likely. So don't be afraid to get to know people in your area that are just as crazy about birds as you are. Number 9, I find on my kind of most essential list is maybe some form of weather protection, like a rain jacket, or we have used trash bags before and they're not as practical, but it works, you know. Essential item number 10 isn't necessarily an essential item in my book because I don't personally use it, but I've seen a lot of people in my community using it, and that is a notepad. Now you can get like waterproof notepads. Like, yeah, I don't personally use one, but like I've said, I've seen a lot of people in my community use them, especially people who don't use Ebird out in the field. They write stuff down on the notepad first, and then they go home and do an Ebird list. So that is another way to do Ebird. So that is kind of like the top 10 essential items, even though it's technically more than just 10 items, but like some of them are grouped into different things like camera equipment. One other thing that isn't necessarily an essential item, but it is still pretty useful in some things, and a lot of non-birders like it as well. That is the Wingspan game. I saw another YouTuber birder put this in their top 10 list, and I was like, hey, yeah, that's a really good idea to put it in your list, because all the cards in this game have some sort of fact about the bird, and they also kind of have a vague map to where the bird is from. And this game has so many expansions, and there's also, like, we have two expansions, and there's also a third expansion that's kind of like its own standalone game for like 2 people. And Andrew and I play this one quite a bit. I always lose. These 2 games especially are pretty cool because if you're just 2 people, you can play this. And if you have a bunch of people, you have this plus all the expansions. This one, I believe, is for 1 to 5 players. So if you want 6 or more players, you can get all the expansions. This isn't my favorite game, but it is one of my top 3 games. I wish everybody who starts out birding the best and all the success in the world, because it can be a little frustrating at times. If you have any more suggestions that you've been birding for a while and you find that you have something unique or different than what I have said in the video that you find pretty essential, put it down in the comments. Maybe I'll add it to a future video. But these are all just kind of based on my personal experience and everything that I take with me when I bird. Thank you so much for subscribing. This is kind of blown up a little faster than I thought it would, but in any case, I'm happy with how it's going. This is just kind of an insight to our birding adventure, and as we grow and learn and watch these just incredible magical creatures. So I'm a bit long-winded. I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye.